Good night. Welcome to another episode of Pursuit. Tonight we are starting a new conversation. May is Mental Health Awareness Month. So we're going to take a little bit of time out this month to talk about that and discuss mental health, right? But
I'm pretty sure it's still April though.
yeah, well, we're introing it.
Okay.
We're starting the conversation. We're getting the ball rolling.
All right. I'm just making sure you know that you're in the month of April. I'm
I
sorry.
am aware.
I apologize.
We discussed this when we were planning the topics.
I feel like
I know
this was
some
never
people don't.
mentioned.
I know some people don't like to remember what we talk about. But
I am not involved.
anyways, before we get into our conversation on mental health,
You just really just left me hanging like that. Wow. All right.
before we get into our conversation on mental health, I was gifted these Dunkin' jelly beans.
I feel like we should
Exciting.
like censor it because they're
Hashtag
not
not
like,
sponsors.
yeah, they're not sponsoring us, so we should like.
Honestly,
but if
though,
you want to
would,
sponsor us,
as we're drinking Starbucks this episode,
We never mention it though until now.
so you can beep. Okay, so I was gifted these Dunkin' iced coffee flavored jelly beans. So we're gonna taste test them and see how accurate.
I love that you were gifted that and you don't drink coffee.
Yeah, but I like flavored things.
All right.
Like every time Lex gets me a gift, she tries to find weird candy to give me because I'll still eat it. You know. So she bought me like the spicy version of Bean Boozled. We should do that on an episode. If you want to see us do that, drop a comment. I'll bring it. Because it has like the wheel and it's like different levels of spice. All right, we'll definitely do that if you want us to, but you have to tell us. Okay, so the 5 flavors that they have are toasted coconut, butter pecan, or pecan.
pecan.
I think we've had this conversation before.
I don't think we had it on the show
Oh.
though. I think
I
you
feel
and
like
I
it was
have
on
had
the-
that conversation.
I feel like it was on the stage.
No,
but
it
I
was
don't
on the
remember.
show.
Did we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
okay.
when I want to feel fancy, I'll say pecan. There's also French vanilla, hazelnut, and caramel latte.
Yum.
So I'm not gonna like pick and choose which ones come out. So whatever you get in your hand, hope it's one of each.
Okay.
We're not putting. There's no backsies, all right? Once it's in your hand, it's not going back into the bag.
Try and give me a caramel one.
I'll try. It's in God's hands now.
All right.
From His to yours.
I believe.
Let me make that a little bigger. Okay, I think 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, there's only 4 in there. Oh, the yellow ones. Oh,
Pretty sure that's the caramel.
there you go. That's the yellow one. You didn't have any yellow, so I had to make sure you had
Give
one.
me a shake because I think the yellow is the caramel.
No, the yellow is butter pecan.
Oh.
Caramel
I
is
don't
like the
care about that
orangey
one
ones. All right, you ready? Ooh, oh, you got caramels.
Okay.
Is that one of each?
Yeah.
About. All right. Because you were missing one color. That's how many it took. That's how many it took for you to get the yellow. I'll take some of yours if you like.
Yeah, I'm not gonna eat all of this. I just realized you probably can't even hear you.
I offered to take some off of his hand. You could just pour it, but not the yellow. So hold the yellow one in your
So
other
just
hand.
take the ones
Oh my
out.
goodness. Ooh, that's one of each color. Oh wait, not the orange. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. These dang yellow ones. I only touched the yellow. Oh, it's my bag. It doesn't really matter. All right. What do we want to start with? Let's go what we think is going to be worst to best, I think.
I feel like the butter pecan is gonna be.
Yeah, I was going to say that
Which one is
or
butter pecan?
the yellow one.
I don't like butter pecan.
That sigh is not warranted for me. How did one get there?
That's the one that fell when.
Oh yeah.
I don't like this one.
I don't like it. It's definitely giving butter pecan though.
Yeah.
No, this is not it.
It's not it, but it's what it says. It's giving.
It's giving butter popcorn from Bean Boozled.
Yes! It's the butter. It's the butter.
Mhm.
Toasted coconut.
Which one
Hold
is
on,
that?
I need to cleanse my palate.
I just need to get the taste out of my mouth.
Oh, yeah,
Which
I
one
know
is
that.
toasted coconut? The brown one?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, toasted coconut. I'm not the biggest fan of coconut in general.
I love coconut.
I hate coconut.
Oh, it's so coconutty.
I like
Oh,
this
we
one.
gave you guys some too, so text me your input. We're on toasted coconut. The brown one. I should probably take my phone off airplane mode if I'm waiting for the reply.
That was horrible.
I
Yeah.
like that one better than the butter pecan.
Because it's more, there's more candy flavored that's like coconut than butter pecan.
Yeah.
All right. French vanilla, hazelnut, or caramel latte?
Let's do caramel latte last.
I knew you were going to say that because that's the one that you're looking forward to. Hazelnut?
Which
Hazelnut.
one is
The brown one. The solid, like, nudie colored
that?
one.
Okay.
This one. I don't know which camera it's on.
She's not even paying attention.
I was
She's not even paying
I was
attention to
watching
us.
the jelly. Oh, it's very nude for me.
Ew.
No, hazelnut's not good?
Oh. That was disgusting. Mm-mm.
Don't waste your calories.
Yeah. Mm-mm.
That was worse than the pecan.
Yeah.
Our sound tech likes the coconut one, I think. Or she's agreeing that we didn't like it. Are you agreeing? You said coconut. Okay,
You like
I got
it?
a thumbs up. All right.
I gotta
That
remember
was
to keep...
horrible.
That was
oh my
so
That was
bad.
bad.
Alright. French vanilla.
I'm assuming that's
The
the white
speckled
one.
one. Why are all of these heavy size?
Because it's been getting progressively worse.
Oh my gosh. That one. Why did I taste egg? I'm not even kidding.
What is this? This is not French vanilla.
It's giving... I'm getting licorice a little bit.
Yes. Do you remember those like I only know them from like Valentine's Day when it's like the little like mint things that have like the messages written on it.
Sweethearts?
Is that I have no clue what they're called.
The little hearts, right?
Yeah, like the
Yeah.
chalky thing. That's what this reminds me
I
of
love
in the worst
those.
possible way. Like the texture of it, it's like
Why do you love them?
They're so good.
Okay. You're allowed to feel the way you feel.
No, like I like them too, but I'm just saying this was
Yeah.
so bad, guys.
All right, last one.
Please don't be
The redeeming
disappointing.
flavor.
Yeah.
Caramel latte.
I'm gonna wait on this one.
But yeah.
Can we like zoom in on Asha trying this? Cameraman,
Woman.
please.
That was so disappointing.
Should we even waste our...
Try it.
Oh,
I
well,
mean,
guess
it's not
have
bad.
to
Well, I
at
have
this
like
point.
10 in my hand, so I might as well at least eat one.
It's just very sweet. Are you getting caramel?
Not... I'm getting sugar.
Yeah.
And I like sugar, but not this sugar.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, no, it makes my drink taste bad now.
I've been getting little pieces of ice that slip through the hole.
Why don't you lucky?
Well, that concludes our...
Am I just supposed to sit here now with
Hold on,
with
I had-
all of this? I don't know if
had
you
a
can
napkin.
zoom
Where did
in.
it go?
Okay, which one was the best?
They were
None,
all-
none.
They just got progressively worse.
I like the toasted coconut the most.
I feel like that one was the most close to what it was supposed to be. So I think that's a good segue into our topic for tonight, which is why do bad things happen? So, Kevin and Asha, vague
Yes.
question, but why do you think bad things happen?
Asha.
I feel like for a long time I've always wondered this. Like people outside of like the faith, that's like the one question they have. They're like, oh, well, if there's a God, why do bad things happen? And for a long time, I just couldn't. Like I don't know what the right answer is to say because I feel like if you know and have a relationship with God, you kind of you kind of try you know that like if you're like going through bad things, like you know God is with you through that. But like to someone else that sounds like they're not going to receive it the same way that we receive it.
Well, because you're not really answering the question, though.
I was
No, like if you say that,
oh yeah.
right? Like, if I ask you why do bad things happen, you're like, well, God's with me through the bad things. That doesn't really, like, answer the question. I think it kind of, it's almost as though we're trying to give like an excuse for God, right? And I think and that's why I think to like your point, it's like it's not really an answer, right? It makes sense to us as Christians. Well, God's with us, but if you're not a believer, if you don't believe in God or you have doubts about God, to say God is with you in bad situations when you don't want anything bad to happen to you will never be a satisfying answer to hear. Right? For a believer where it's like, well, bad things are going to happen, but God's with you, that can become a satisfying answer because if you have a relationship with God, as you said, then yeah, knowing that God is with me does become a satisfying answer and something to think about and focus in on. What about you?
Why do I think bad things happen? I think there's a lot of reasons that bad things happen. But I also think that it's up to how we interpret what the bad thing is.
Okay.
Because,
explain.
I was trying to. Because sometimes in the moment we'll see it as a bad thing, but in like hindsight you'll see it like, okay, so I needed to go through this because I needed to learn how to have patience, how to have faith, how to practice my faith and like be courageous and stuff like that. I feel like it's gonna fall. But that's what I think. It depends on what you're viewing as a bad thing, because sometimes it could just be like not a test, but like a trial that you're going through as to build things. Other times it could be you knowingly made this really bad decision and now you're going through the consequences of your actions. So I think why do bad things happen is a very vague question that I think overall it could be a result of your actions regardless of what the situation is. But the reason for the bad thing specifically varies depending on the circumstances.
Can I get one of the jelly beans? Just
I'm
one.
gonna throw it.
I want one.
What is the reason for wanting one?
Or was I that obvious? Because I've been trying to figure out how to do something bad to you this
You were
entire
staring
time.
at it. That's why I took it.
I honestly was actually trying to figure out where's a safe spot to kick you. But I was like, I don't want to kick you like on like your white sneakers. That just feels disrespectful. But then
but not kicking me in general. That's not
right.
disrespectful.
But then like it's like ankles are showing, right? Which is like, first of all, I mean, we're in church, so you need to. But that's a different story. I didn't want to kick you like on like skin. That felt disrespectful too. So I was like, I don't know, and like I don't want to try and like raise my leg super high to like kick you in your knee because you have that reflex thing from the other episode. So you may end up kicking me back. So I just ran out of ideas, and then I was trying to get the camera woman's attention, right, so she could switch it to the view so we could see everyone. So if I just hit you, no one would see what happens, and it just my whole plan fell apart. I was gonna challenge your whole. Well, you got to see if it's a bad thing or not. If I kick you,
No, I didn't say you have to see if it's a bad thing or not.
Well, your perspective on it.
Would the lesson be like her moving away from you?
Yeah,
I guess I don't know.
You can get different things out of bad things.
I didn't get
We'll
to
never
do
know.
We'll never know. She wouldn't give me a jelly bean because then I saw that one there. And I was like,
knew
oh,
it.
but that's so far away. I was gonna throw like like my keys at you or something.
A weapon?
I mean, you could have
I,
just
I,
crumbled
was, I was looking at that too.
You
I
could've
was
just flicked your
afraid
mic wire a
that
little
like
extra
it wouldn't
hard.
like fly.
It would go like.
I was really confused. I
He's
thought you
the
would like
oldest
like
one
the
out
most,
of all
and
of
I was like,
us.
really?
What?
He's the oldest one out of
No.
all of us, and he's.
I'm not the well. I mean, yeah, I am the oldest,
And
but
yet
I
his
don't understand.
maturity level.
I was trying to make a point,
Yeah, but the way you were going about it, you were gonna kick me.
but I didn't. I think that's what we need to focus in on: the fact that I didn't kick you.
That is gaslighting. That is what we're not gonna do.
How was it, guys? If I didn't kick you?
Because you're saying that that's the moral of the story instead of the fact that you were gonna kick me.
No, I'm saying I ran through all the scenarios and I settled on I'll throw a jelly bean at you, which I think is pretty fair to make my point. Why you gotta look away, Asha? I'm looking like, help me, Asha. Come on.
I don't agree with your actions, and I will not let you hit her.
But I wasn't going to hit her.
But you were, wasn't you? It
no,
was your intention.
no, the intention.
That is why bad things happen. People are
They
their
always justify their
intentions.
actions.
Yeah, it's the
It's
intention.
always the
Is
intention.
that why bad things
And then, do you know what? Let me.
It's the intention that leads to a sin if you see it through, and then it's like it affects other people's
It's
lives.
down the line, yeah. There's so
Well,
many
maybe
different
Kevin
things.
needed to do that for us to get
Exactly.
it out there.
Yep.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
See, I'm always thinking 10 steps ahead. You're welcome, viewers. So why do bad things happen, guys?
I need a minute to regroup.
All right, so Asher, you were making a point earlier about like non-believers and when they ask, well,
Mhm.
like if there's a God, why do bad things happen? Because I think that's really the point of the question, right?
Mhm.
It's the challenge on God, right? If there's a God, why would he allow bad things to happen,
Mhm.
right? So I think maybe that's the question. Then I'll throw out to both of you: if there is a God, or well, we know there's a God, why does he allow bad things to happen? Which I think is the better question. Why does God allow
Mhm.
bad things to happen?
Well, I think it's to what also Ariel said earlier. It's he lets things happen so you can learn what you need to like either that's character development, he's teaching you like patience, maybe he needs you to go through some things so you can overcome it and help other people who might be going through a similar or different situation.
And I think sometimes the bad thing doesn't necessarily need to happen to you, but like it can happen to someone around you, and as a
Mhm.
result of that, they have this great testimony that happens, like that moves you to become someone that you should be working towards as well. So why does God let bad things happen? I think a lot of the times we blame our own missteps on God. And when I say that, I mean that we know that we should do one thing, but we really do another thing. And then when the consequences of our actions catches up to us, we say, God, why did you allow this to happen to me? When really I stepped out of his plan and his path for me. And I went to like fulfill what I like my fleshly nature, like my sinful nature was telling me to do.
All
That
right. So
Mhm.
to that, before you move off from that point, when you look at the life of Paul,
Mhm.
after he's converted, he travels, he's a missionary, yet he's in prison multiple times. He's shipwrecked, I want to say twice. And I want to say, don't quote me on this, but I'm pretty sure there was one case where when he's shipwrecked and when he gets to land, they make a fire and then he gets bit by a snake. I don't feel like any of that was his fault.
No.
So why does God allow bad things to now happen to, from all indications, a good person?
Good people. I think if he, how do I word this right? Because I feel like his story is very dramatic, and yet he still pushed through and pursued Christ. And I feel like the the drama of his story, it's like if he can go through all of these things and still have faith and still love God the way that he does, what's to say that I can't? I think it was more so to set an example of, yeah, some things are going to happen to you in life, but you have to make the conscious decision to still pursue and to still push through and remember who God is for you and with you.
Okay. So I think when people are asking the question, and I do agree with what you're saying, but I think when people are asking the question, why does God allow bad things to happen? My initial, like, just kind of like knee jerk reaction is, why shouldn't God allow bad things to happen? Right? What is the Why is it that we believe that God must stop all bad things from happening? Right? Because I think that's where people get confused. If you're sitting there and you're going, well, God is here, so nothing bad's going to happen, I think you have a misunderstanding of who God is.
Yep. I think a lot of people, because once they think of Christianity, when they think you have like a really good relationship with God, they expect like that's a shield around you. Nothing's gonna penetrate that force field of like your relationship with God. But what a lot of people don't realize is that when you do have a stronger relationship with God, there is a lot of spiritual warfare that goes on, right? Because a lot of people don't like to see that, or a lot of like, uh, how do I word it properly? But like when you have a solid foundation, when you have a good relationship with God, there will be a lot of like spiritual turmoil in that like there will be obstacles that come up because it's I don't want to say it's a test. Like God is not putting a test in front of you, but if there's God, there's also Satan, right? And he is what is it, the ruler of the earth or something? What was it? He was cast down from heaven to I don't
Yeah,
know
you
the
can say he's the
title.
ruler of earth,
Right?
ruler of darkness. Yeah,
Of
whatever.
darkness, yeah. So it's kind of like I'm he's it's not necessarily always God testing your faith, but also like Satan is like, hey, is it really as strong as you say it is? I'm not a fan of that. Let me do what I can to remove you from that light.
Okay. I mean, I
Obviously, not every situation is going to be like that, but
well, I think one of the big things is that we, yeah, I mean, like I agree with what you're saying. I just my mind always goes back to kind of like why I brought up Paul. Like if bad
yeah,
things didn't happen to him, right, and he by all accounts is faithfully pursuing God, why do we think bad things won't happen to us?
oh, okay, okay.
Right? Or like why is it that we think we should be exempt from bad things? Right? Go ahead. I feel like
I
you're
was
about to say
trying to find the verse, but you remember when we were talking about Paul, he said something along the
Mm-hmm.
lines of like, if I die for
Oh,
serving God, even better. I forgot what the
yeah.
whole entire thing was, but like it was like all about his perspective on the situation, and he was like, if I'm like tried and if people do bad things to me, then that's fine because I know that I'm like doing what I need to do. Like I'm going to live out my purpose and plan that God has for me.
Yeah, and I think that was, and I want to say that was Philippians or Galatians. That was one of the more recent things we had
Yeah.
done. But, and I think that same episode we were talking about having like a heavenly mindset,
Yeah.
which I think is
Your
kind
perspective,
of,
yeah.
yeah, which I think is kind of the answer to the question: why does God allow bad things to happen, or why do bad things happen to good people? All along those lines, it's more so not a question of why do bad things happen. It's I think this is the point you were trying to get to earlier, where what is your perspective on a bad thing,
Yeah.
right? Because if your perspective is on heaven and your goal is heaven, then I think your perspective on good and bad drastically changes.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think the way, not necessarily what's good and bad, but I think how good and bad affects you
Yeah.
drastically changes. So I think that's super important that we all begin to have that like mindset of, well, if I'm focused on God, then yeah, good things are gonna have, bad things are gonna happen, but who am I focused on?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Do you guys have any examples throughout your life of where like something happened? It doesn't have to happen to you, but like something bad happened and you like grew from it or learned from it. Like it is like for me. So a lot of people know Auntie Angela, right? She was active in the church. She had cancer. So through like towards the end of her battle, a lot of times, or even like after she had lost the battle, um, I would always be asking myself, like, of all people, why did this have to happen to her? But then I realized the faith that she had towards the end. Um, the faith that she had towards the end was like a really big milestone for, like, not a milestone, but it was like if she was going through all of that pain and she still, thank you, and she still managed to push through and not lose it. I'm living, I'm perfectly healthy, I'm fine. Why can't I have the same faith that she had? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So nothing bad happened to me, but I used her example of faith through her trials as like a way for me to live my life as well.
Yeah. Anything on your end?
Yeah, no, I've also like I feel like people around you that you love go through things and like they're like to see them strong and faithful even
Mm-hmm.
though they're going through that hard thing. It um it teaches you something about the way that you should live and
Yeah.
your faith and like it just God may be using that person in your life to like show you something that you wouldn't see on your own.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of an example.
Sorry, I know mine was very dramatic.
Yeah, that kind of, because mine is I don't want to hit with like another super dramatic one. So I'm trying not to go that route right now. But
Isn't your life a Bollywood movie
I
with
know,
all of the drama?
like how far do we want to get into this?
It's the movie of your life.
All right, so a couple years ago, I was ready to not come to church anymore completely, right? And I want to say you were coming to church by then, but I mean, you've obviously known me longer, and and this is when I am super involved in church.
Mm-hmm.
I was ready to just be like, this isn't for me. Then what ends up happening is Pastor Singh passes away.
Mm.
And if you don't know, he's the founder of the church. And then I remember I had a conversation with someone, and they were just like, things are going to change for you. And I was like, are they? And I think that same weekend, my dad comes home and he's just like, I was asked to be the the senior pastor of the church. What do you guys think? And I was kind of just sitting there like, if you take this, can I not like how can I not come to church? Because I know how it looks when a pastor has kids who aren't coming to church. So I was just like, if he does this, can I not come and things like that? But that's what kind of ended up keeping me in church, which is, not the best way to stay in church. But I think because it happened in that way, and I was kind of, I think I don't want to say I was forced to stay in church, but in my head, I was forced to stay. Like I forced myself to stay in church.
Mm.
I was able to, I think, rebuild a relationship with God, and kind of come out of that. I mean, kind of come out of it a little better than I think I was. I don't know, what was that, almost 10 years ago now.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think, when we talk about bad things happening, I definitely didn't want to see him go and those things to happen, but yet I do believe had he not passed, I would not be coming to church anymore. I think in some ways that was sort of like a wake up call for me.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
A lot of death happening in this conversation.
You guys asked for that Bollywood drama, so I'm here for it. You okay?
I
Like I feel like I'm watching you. Like the gears are trying to turn, and they're just like stuck in your head. Like you don't know where to go right now, what to say to that. We're over here talking about death, and you're just like,
no, because I'm so invested. I'm like, wow, like while you were speaking, I was like, oh my god, like God did that for Kevin to
For
stay in.
no.
No.
God did not.
No, no. Well,
God did not take Pastor Singh to heaven.
no.
So that I could stay in church. We're not saying that.
No.
Okay? I want to make that very clear.
That's
Because
not
this
what I
episode
meant.
has taken a big turn. We are not saying that.
No.
I am not making his death about me. I'm not doing that. I'm just saying that was the sequence. That was the order of events in my life. Okay? Jeez.
I didn't mean it like that. Wow.
What she's saying is, I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't want to say something and make it worse. So
I just want everybody to know that is not what I meant. No, but I was looking confused because I'm like trying to think of something to tone it down, and I'm like, I don't know. Those are two good examples.
So I think there's one more question that we can kind of look at, which I think is another question that maybe believers have, which is why does God allow bad things to happen to me? Right? Like I've been serving you faithfully. I've been going to church. I pray every day. I read my Bible. I do all of this stuff that I'm supposed to do as a Christian. I'm constantly pursuing God, yet something bad happens to me. What do we say to that?
what is the question?
Why
Even
does
though
God,
something bad happens to me, why is it happening?
when it's by all accounts no fault of my own, why does something bad happen to me?
Just to spice things up a little bit. No, I'm kidding. it.
Okay.
No, I'm kidding. Well, because there are a lot of different like types of bad things. You know what I mean? Like it could be a character building moment where like God was like, well, not necessarily, or not even God was like, but like you're doing all the right things, but you're not growing from it.
Okay.
So like, yeah, I'm praying every day, but I'm still only doing 5 minutes that I started doing 2 years ago. Or like, yeah, I'm reading my Bible, but am I actively taking notes? Am I actively trying to like find out what God is trying to tell me? Or am I just reading it to say, hey, I read it and I really like this passage? So I think a lot of times certain things happen to certain people so they can kind of put what they've been practicing into effect. Because like I can practice, but what am I practicing for? Like I go to drama practice because we have a play coming up. I'm going to play a sport because I have a game. When am I putting my skills into action?
Yeah, I agree. I feel like sometimes, even though you're doing that, you can get like really comfortable easily just doing that. And like maybe, well, bad things happen because you're not growing from your situation. And like, even though you might be doing that, maybe you're still not even living like how you're supposed to be. Like you can read the Bible and still not follow it. Yeah. So there's something you need to learn in there.
I mean, I instantly think of like, I think because both of you kind of talked a little bit about the idea of like growth. I instantly think of like someone that's working out constantly, because I've never heard of someone that's working out constantly and is seeing gains that hasn't experienced like pain in that process.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm not saying like massive, like they had to go to like the like something serious happened, but there's always some level of discomfort.
Yeah.
In that process. And I think when we talk about bad things, I don't think growth happens necessarily without discomfort.
Mhm.
And I want to use the word discomfort because it's easy to say it's a bad thing, but I think sometimes it's just situations that make us uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Like, not to take for granted that there are situations which they are just simply bad,
Mhm.
right? But I think a lot of the things that we consider bad, that we go through on a more regular basis, tend to be more situations of discomfort that make us feel uncomfortable, and we're going to God, why does this happen to me? Why didn't I get the raise at work? Yeah, okay, maybe you really wanted it, but is that necessarily a bad thing? Is it something of discomfort? Is it something, and I don't want to minimize what's going on in people's lives, but I think for a lot of it, it's sometimes it's just something of discomfort. And if we were, I think, really to allow God to be God in our lives, we'll see the growth happen. Because I think sometimes I think for a lot of us, the reaction to bad is to instantly do something good to try and like fight back the bad stuff. And I think in doing that, we often negate what God is doing in trying to do something good. Because it's not necessarily what God wants to see happen, it's what we want to see happen.
Yeah.
Right? Something bad happened, some level of discomfort happened. Like I got passed up for a promotion, so I'm going to quit my job and go work somewhere else. And I'm not saying, and in the business world, that may make sense and things like that, and maybe that's a bad example. But I think sometimes our knee jerk reaction is something bad happened to me, something happened and I don't like it, and now I have to get justice for me. Whereas God is not looking at a a score sheet of your life of good versus bad and saying, okay, two bad things happened to him today, so I gotta give him two good things tomorrow. That's not what he's concerned about. He's like,
Mhm.
okay, something bad happened. Are you gonna grow from this? Are you going to allow me to refine your character, refine you as a person, refine you mentally, emotionally, spiritually, whatever it may be, so that you come out, I don't want to say necessarily a better person, but I think a person that's closer to God,
Yeah.
right? And with that, um, so there's a book I read honestly around the same time uh, Pastor Singh had passed, and it's called Sifted. And there's a quote in the book from another author called his name is William Paul Young. He wrote The Shack, which I didn't even know was a book. I just thought it was a movie.
It's
Um,
based off of the book.
right, I didn't know that. So, um, someone asked him, "What is God's role in suffering?" Right, and I think his response is pretty deep. He goes, "The question is, how can there be a good God who has the power to stop evil and doesn't?" There are a lot of ways to come at that question. One of the ways that has helped me the most is to realize that God respects his creation way more than we do. That God doesn't just step in and say, "I'm sorry, you've crossed the line. You're not allowed to think that. You're not allowed to do that." God has not promised that he's going to stop it, but rather he'll show up in the middle of it. And there's nothing so dead that he can't grow something out of it. There's nothing so broken that he can't heal it. And there's not anything so lost he can't find it. So this idea of respect for the creation is a little bit of a shock to us because we want God to mete out justice for us. The question is, at what point does he stop our ability to choose evil? To love, you have to have the ability to choose. And at what point does he just stop that? He can't. If he wants to have relationship, because coerced love is no love at all. And that is the alternative. He could have made a whole creation that thought we were making free choices but weren't. There's no relationship there either. And I think that when we talk about why do bad things happen, why does God allow bad things to happen? Why does he allow us to make bad decisions, right? I think it's simply because his love for us is so unconditional that he respects us to make our own decisions,
Mhm.
right? And in doing that, that means he has to allow us to mess up sometimes, right? Yet, as William Young says, there's nothing that God can't heal or fix or grow something out of. And I think that's where, as believers, we have to focus in on, right? Which is why, to what you said at the beginning, um, when people ask that question, for believers, right? And I think this is why we know, because God loves us so much that He's not going to stop it, but He'll be there in the midst of it.
Mm.
And I think that's what's so amazing. I mean, coming out of Easter, right? And some of the things we spoke about for Easter, about when Jesus felt abandoned by God. He went through it. He went through what we're going to go through had we continued on in that life of sin.
Yep.
Right? So I think that's what is so amazing. Why do bad things happen? Because God loves us, and He's going to work things out for the good of those who love Him. Right? That's what the Bible says. And I think when you hold on to that promise, you start to lose the scorecard of good things that happen versus bad things that happen, and you begin to just focus on God and see, okay, God, something's happening. Where are you leading me now?
Mm-hmm. And that's why your perspective on things plays a really big part into what you perceive as a good or a bad thing. Because if you're focused on what's happening in the now, any minor inconvenience can be a bad thing to you. But if you're focused on the end game of like furthering the kingdom and fulfilling your purpose, you'd be like, what is this trying to teach me? What is it that I need to get out of this inconvenience versus why do bad things happen to me all the time?
Any final thoughts, Asha?
No.
Yeah.
All right. I think that's a good place to stop.
Yeah. Solid.
Yeah. The only thing I would like to say before we wrap is just, if there's bad things happening in your life, seek God, right? I know sometimes the gut reaction is to just take it on yourself to fix it. Seek God first, right? And then maybe you need to call your pastor. You know, you need to reach out to someone, right? Do that. I think too often we try to make things better, and in doing so, we lose sight of God's purpose for our lives. So just, do you know it? I don't know the number. I have never known. I have a cell phone that has the number in it. So Ariel's going to give you the church number.
718-849-5277. If you need it, you can give us a call. It probably won't be us, but it'll be someone that's probably more qualified to answer your questions and to guide you a bit more, like the pastor.
Yeah.
He knows a bit much more than us. Than me, at
Just a
least.
little.
Just a
But and you can also go to the church website, myfaith.center.
Mm-hmm.
There's multiple ways to get in contact with someone there. If you go to the guest page or the church page, there's like connect with us options. If you want to just leave a prayer request, if you go to the prayer page, you can leave a prayer request there. I think there's also a prayer line number that's on the prayer page. I'm not even going to ask you to look it up at this point, but it's on the page. Trust me, it's there, because I know I put it there.
And then if you come in person, we also have the prayer cards. You can always drop in an offering basket. Do we still do those? I still see them. I don't know.
I
if we
honestly
still do
don't know
them.
what goes in the offering baskets once I started giving online.
I
The
know
basket
we
doesn't
used
even
to,
come near me
but-
anymore.
because you're in the booth. Anyways, there are many avenues for you to go through to get in contact with someone.
Yes.
We try to make it easy.
Yes. So with that, we'll be back here again next week, tackling another important question of life. Don't ask me what that question is. I don't know what it is
He
right
doesn't
now.
pay attention to our talks.
Asha, do you know what the question is? See, it's not just me.
Why do you
You
have to
didn't
put me
even
on the
give him a
spot?
second. Anyway,
I love that they zoomed in on you. Too. Thank you, camera woman, for that.
How can I know God's will? Is the question.
I've been really trying hard this episode to hide the label on my drink. Because if you weren't here last time, we're starting a new challenge. Every episode I have a drink. If you can guess what it is at the end of the series, you can guess right. If you
You
guess
can guess right.
Yeah, you
That is
can.
your reward.
Not even the like anymore?
Oh yeah, we'll like your comment.
Wow. Talk about why do bad things happen. All right. With that, I think that's gonna be the thumbnail picture for you. All right. So with that, we'll be back here again next
The
week.
audacity. I feel like that's all you have right now.
It probably is. Yeah. So we'll be back here again next week. Peace out, guys.
Later.